Asmin Sada Nirastapurkam Satyam Param Dhimahi. O my Lord Shri Krishna, son of Vasudeva, O all-pervading personality of Godhead, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. I meditate upon Lord Shri Krishna because he is the absolute truth and the primeval cause of all causes, of the creation, destruction, sustenance, and destruction of manifested universes. He is directly and indirectly conscious of all manifestations. And he's independent because there's no other cause beyond him.
And he's independent because there's no other cause beyond him.
It is he only who first imparted the Vedic knowledge into the heart of Brahmaji.
It is he only who first imparted the Vedic knowledge into the heart of Brahmaji.
The original living being.
The original living being.
By him, even the great sages and demigods are placed into illusion.
By him, even the great sages and demigods are
As
placed
one is
into
bewildered by the illusory representations
As one is bewildered by the illusory representation
of water seen on fire or land seen on water.
of water seen the fire, of land seen
Only because of him do the material universes,
only because of him do the material universe,
temporarily manifested by the reactions of the three modes of nature,
temporarily manifested by the reaction of the three modes of nature,
appear factual although they're unreal.
appear factual although they are unreal.
I therefore meditate upon him, Lord Sri Krishna,
I therefore meditate upon him, Lord Shri Krishna,
who is eternally existent in the transcendental abode,
who is eternally existent in transcendental abode,
which is forever free from the illusory representations of the material world.
which is forever free from the illusory representation of the material world.
I meditate upon him, for he is the absolute truth.
And meditate upon him, for he is the absolute
Dharma projita kaitravotra,
Dharma Prajita Kaitavutra,
paramo nirmatsaranam satam,
Paramo Nirmasranam Satam,
vedyam vastavam atravastu,
Vedyam Vastavam Astravastu,
shivadam tapa trayanmuvanam,
Shivadam Tapo Trayamanam,
Srimad Bhagavate Mahamuni Krite,
Srimad Bhagavate Mahamani Krite,
Kim va purir Ishwaraha,
Kimva Paririshvaraha,
Sadyo Hridi Avarudyate Tra,
Sadya Ruddhya Varidyati
Kriti Bihi Sususubhistakshanat.
Pritibhi Shishu Shubhistarkyanat,
Completely rejecting all religious activities which are materially motivated.
completely rejecting all religious activities which material motivated.
This Bhagavata Purana propounds the highest truth,
This Bhagavad Purana propounds the high truth,
which is understandable by those devotees who are fully pure in heart.
which is understandable by those devotees who are fully pure in the heart.
The highest truth is reality distinguished from illusion for the welfare of all.
It has to be the reality distinguished from illusion for the welfare of all.
Such truth uproots the threefold miseries.
Such a truth uproot the threefold miseries.
This beautiful Bhagavatam, compiled by the great sage Vyasadeva in his maturity,
This beautiful Bhagavatam compiled by the great sage Vyasadeva is material.
is sufficient in itself for God realization.
It's sufficient itself for God realization.
What is the need of any other scripture?
What is the need of the other scripture?
As soon as one attentively and submissively hears the message of Bhagavatam,
As soon as one attentively submissively hears the message of Bhagavatam,
by this culture of knowledge,
by this cult of
the
knowledge,
Supreme Lord is established within his heart.
the Supreme Lord is established within his heart.
Nigama kalpatarur galitam phalam,
Nigama kalpatara galitam
sukamukad amrita dravya samvitam,
Sukamakar Nityadrava Sangitam,
pibata Bhagavatam rasam alayam,
Vivata Bhagavatam Rasamalayam,
muhur ahorasika bhuvibhavakaha.
Muhura Hura Sika Bhuvibhavaka.
O expert and thoughtful man, relish Srimad Bhagavatam,
O expert and thoughtful man, relish Srimad Bhagavatam,
the mature fruit of the desire tree of Vedic literatures.
the mature fruit, the desired tree of Vedic literature.
It emanated from the lips of Sri Sukadeva Goswami.
It emanated from the list of Shishukadeva Goswami.
Therefore, this fruit has become even more tasteful.
Therefore, this fruit has become even more tasty.
Although its nectarian juice was already relishable for all,
Although its nectarian juice was already relishable for all,
including liberated souls.
including liberated souls.
Shinvatam Swakataha Krishna,
Srinvatam Swakatam Krishna,
Punya Shravana Kirtana,
Punya Shravana Kirtana,
Hidyantaksto hi abhadrani,
Vidyantasto hi abhadrani,
Vidunati Sruhitsatam.
Vidunoti Suritsatam.
To hear about Krishna from Vedic literatures,
To hear about Krishna from the Vedic
or to
literature,
hear from him directly through the Bhagavad Gita,
or to hear from him directly from the Bhagavad Gita,
is itself righteous activity.
it is self-righteous activity.
And for one who hears about Krishna,
And for one who hears about Krishna,
Lord Krishna who is dwelling in everyone's heart,
Lord Krishna is dwelling within everyone's
acts as a best wishing friend,
acts as the best wishing friend,
and purifies the devotee who constantly engages in hearing of him.
and purifies devotees constantly engaged in hearing.
Nasta presu bhadresu
Nasta presha bhagreshu
nityam bhagavata sevaya
nityam bhagavata sevaya
bhagavati uttamasloke
bhagavati uttamasloke
bhaktir bhavati naistaki.
bhakti bhagavati naistaki.
In this way, a devotee naturally develops his dormant transcendental knowledge.
In this way, devotees naturally develop his dormant transcendental knowledge
As he hears more about Krishna from the Bhagavatam
as he hears more about Krishna from the Bhagavatam
and from the devotees,
and from the devotees.
he becomes fixed in the devotional service of the Lord.
He becomes fixed in devotional service of God.
Tadarajas tamo bhava
Dharajastamo bhava
kamalobhadayasche
karmalobhadayascha
cheta etar anavidam
cheta etarana
stitvam sattve prasiddhati.
Stitam sarve prasidati.
By development of devotional service,
By development of devotional service,
one becomes freed from the modes of passion and ignorance,
one becomes free from the modes of passion and ignorance,
and thus material lust and avarice are diminished.
and thus material lust and avarice are diminished.
Evam prasana manaso
Evam prasanamana
bhagavad bhakti yogataha
bhagavat tattva
bhagavad tattva vijnanam
bhagavat tattva vijnanam
mukta sangasya jayate.
mukta sangasa jayate.
When these impurities are wiped away,
When these impurities are wiped away,
the candidate remains steady in his position of pure goodness,
the candidate remains steady in position of pure goodness,
becomes enlivened by devotional service,
becomes enlivened by devotional service,
and understands the science of God perfectly.
and understands the science of God perfectly.
Vidyate hridaya grantis,
Vidyante hridaya granti,
chidyante sarvasamsaya,
chidyante sarva samsaya,
siyante chasya karmani,
chiyante sacha karmani,
drishta evatmanishware.
dusta evatmanisvare.
Thus, Bhakti Yoga severs the hard knot of material affection
Thus Bhakti Yoga serves the heart of material
and enables one to come at once to the stage of a samsayam samagram,
and enable them to come at one to the stage of assumption of samagrama,
understanding the supreme absolute truth, personality, Godhead.
understanding the supreme absolute truth, personality of Godhead.
Therefore, only by hearing from Krishna or from his devotee in Krishna consciousness
Therefore, only by hearing from Krishna or from devotees in Krishna consciousness
can one understand the science of Krishna.
can one understand the science of Krishna.
Srimad Bhagvatam, Canto 1, Chapter 19, verse number 4. Nachintayan itam atashrinodyata
Sachintayam itamata shranayata
mune sutokto nirtis tasakaya.
Mune sutokto niriti strakyakakya
Sasadumene nachirena takshaka
Sasadumene nachirena takshaka
nalam prasaktasya virakti karanam.
Nalam prashaktasya virakti karanam.
While the king was thus repenting, he received news of his imminent death, which would be due to the bite of a snake bird, occasioned by the curse spoken by the sage's son. The king accepted this as good news, for it would be the cause of his indifference toward worldly things. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Real happiness is achieved by spiritual existence or by cessation of the repetition of birth and death. One can stop the repetition of birth and death only by going back to Godhead. In the material world, even by attaining the topmost planet, Brahmaloka, one cannot get rid of the conditions of repeated birth and death. But still, we do not accept the path of attaining perfection. The path of perfection frees one from all material attachments, and thus one becomes fit to enter into the spiritual kingdom. Therefore, those who are materially poverty-stricken are better candidates than those who are materially prosperous. Maharaj Pariksit was a great devotee of the Lord and a bona fide candidate for entering into the kingdom of God. But even though he was so, his material assets as the emperor of the world were setbacks to perfect attainment of his rightful status as one of the associates of the Lord in the spiritual sky. As a devotee of the Lord, he could understand that the cursing of the Brahmana boy, although unwise, was a blessing upon him, being the cause of detachment from worldly affairs, both political and social. Samika Muni also, after regretting the incident, conveyed the news to the king as a matter of duty, so that the king would be able to prepare himself to go back to Godhead. Samika Muni sent news to the king that foolish Shringi, his son, although a powerful Brahmana boy, unfortunately had misused his spiritual power by cursing the king unwarrantedly. The incident of the king's garlanting the Muni was not sufficient cause for being cursed to death. But since there was no way to retract the curse, the king was informed to prepare for death within a week. Both Samika Muni and the king were self-realized souls. Samika Muni was a mystic, and Maharaj Parikshit was a devotee. Therefore, there was no difference between them in self-realization. Neither of them was afraid of meeting death. Maharaj Parikshit could have gone to the Muni to beg his pardon, but the news of imminent death was conveyed to the king with so much regret by the Muni that the king did not want to shame the Muni further by his presence there. He decided to prepare himself for his imminent death and find out the way back to Godhead. The life of a human being is a chance to prepare oneself to go back to Godhead, or to get rid of the material existence, the repetition of birth and death. Thus, in the system of Varnashrama Dharma, every man and woman is trained for this purpose. In other words, the system of Varnashrama Dharma is known as Sanatana Dharma, or the eternal occupation. The system of Varnashrama Dharma prepares a man for going back to Godhead, and thus a householder is ordered to go to the forest as vanaprastha to acquire complete knowledge and then to take sannyasa prior to his inevitable death. Parikshit Maharaj was fortunate to get a 7-day notice to meet his inevitable death. But for the common man, there's no definite notice, although death is inevitable for all. Foolish men forget this sure fact of death and neglect the duty of preparing themselves for going back to Godhead. They spoil their lives in animal propensities to eat, drink, be merry, and enjoy. Such an irresponsible life is adopted by the people in the age of Kali because of a sinful desire to condemn Brahminical culture, God consciousness, and cow protection, for which the state is responsible. The state must employ revenue to advance these 3 items, and thus educate the populace to prepare for death. The state which does so is the real welfare state. The state of India should better follow the examples of Maharaj Parikshit, the ideal executive head, than to imitate other materialistic states which have no idea of the kingdom of God. The ultimate goal of human life, deterioration of the ideals of Indian civilization has brought about the deterioration of civic life, not only in India, but also abroad. Srila Prabhupada Patita Pavan Ki Jai. Thai Gaura Premanandi. Well, yesterday we discussed at the end a very interesting point, and Nrihari and I researched this point, and we, I think, came to the same conclusion, and that is first of all, Guru Brahma, Guru Krishna, Guru Mahadeva, Guru Vishnu, Guru Mahadeva, is actually appears in Vedic literatures in the Skanda Purana, Uttarakanda section called Guru Gita. And it's a dialogue between Lord Shiva and Uma, or Parvati. And, however, what was not clear yesterday According to the Padma Purana, the Skanda Purana is in the tamasic mode. Now there are 18 Puranas. 6 are sattvic, 6 are rajasic, and 6 are tamasic. That is called the big tent. The Vedic culture is a big tent. Everyone can fit into the tent, even the people in tamas, or ignorance. So they have their scripture, which is there's 6 of them. Matsya Purana, Kurma Purana, Linga Purana, Shiva Purana, Skanda Purana, Agni Purana. And then people in the mode of passion, rajas, there's a Brahmanda Purana, Brahma Vaivarta Purana, Markandeya Purana, Bhavishya Purana, Vamana Purana, and Brahma Purana. And people in the mode of goodness, there's the Vishnu Purana, Bhagavata Purana, Naradeya Purana, Garuda Purana, Padma Purana, and Varaha Purana. So usually Vaishnavas only read the Puranas in the mode of goodness. So this mantra, Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Mahadeva, appears in the Skanda Purana. And we also found what is the general understanding of this mantra, and it's a whole prayer. It's not just that one mantra. It's a whole prayer. There's about 10 of these prayers. That's the first one. So here's the meaning of Guru Brahma mantra given by a lady called Riddhi Arora. And she says, Guru Brahma, Guru is Brahma, who is the Lord of creation, also called as generator. Guru Vishnu means Guru is Vishnu. Vishnu is the Lord who is called organizer. Guru Devo Maheshwaraha means Guru is the Maheshwara, Shiva, or the destroyer. Guru Shakshat Parabrahma means Parabrahma, that means the Supreme God or Almighty. Since Guru leads to a path of light, Guru is the Parabrahma. Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha means to bow to that Guru, the Guru referred to earlier. Thus, as a realized soul, Guru is the embodiment of Parabrahma, the ultimate Godhead. There it is. It's a Mayavadi interpretation of this verse, and this is what most people understand when they chant these verses. And that was my point yesterday. It doesn't matter what is the proper understanding of this verse. This is what actually people understand. And then when they say it, they're teaching it to their kids. Even here, when some outside group brings their kids, whether it's for a dance program or for a recital program, they always begin with this mantra. And what this lady, Riddhi Arora, says is actually the fact that this is what they understand, that the Guru is Param Brahma. In other words, he or she is the supreme personality of Godhead. So, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right. See, that's why my initial question was why properly condemned, because it's actually bona fide writing, but the Vaishnava, they don't use that.
No, because
Yeah,
the Mayavadis use it.
Yeah, ignorance.
Yeah.
Good. This is very clear. Thank you for
Haribol.
keeping the record right.
Okay, so this purport today is really very detailed and wonderful. It's normal. Everything Prabhupada does is detailed and wonderful. And he says real happiness is achieved by spiritual existence or by cessation of the repetition of birth and death. So, I actually saw this several times in my life. The disappearance of Prabhupada was an example of this. And one godbrother named Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj also demonstrated the same thing. That is, that when one understands that they're going to die, they begin to shut down all their worldly, let's say, engagements, radically shut down, and prepare themselves not to think of anything else but Krishna, and to get the help of their friends or family members to relieve them of any material responsibilities so they can totally focus on Krishna, so that at the moment of death they're not thinking about anything else except the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It's very important because, first of all, we don't know when death is going to come. Sometimes it happens accidentally, and sometimes we know for sure because of a sickness or some injury that we're going to die. So what is our duty? So that's the whole Bhagavatam. What was Maharaj Parikshit's duty now that he knew that in 7 days he's going to die? Not everybody knows that they're going to die so quickly, but someone who is a devotee, a seriously fixed up devotee, and who's read and discussed the topic of Srimad Bhagvatam and Bhagavad Gita, knows when they're going to die. And therefore, they shut down all their material obligations, attachments, whatever, and it's completely focused on the Supreme Lord, as they have practiced their whole life, or their whole spiritual life, trying to focus the mind on the Lord. But when you know you're going to die, then you get real serious about it. Right? So, I wanted to read something. It's very interesting. There's this verse that explains. I read a little bit of it yesterday, where the Srimad Bhagavatam, 7th Canto, 9th Chapter, 16th verse, and Srimad Bhagavatam, 7th Canto, 9th Chapter, 12th verse. But those two verses are very instructive to understand how we should adjust our life to achieve perfection at the end of life, that is, focused completely on Krishna. So there are two paths that we have to understand. One is called the path of samsara chakra kadanad, changing the body one after another. And the other is called apavarga sharanam, taking complete shelter of Krishna. So these are two paths that most people, everybody is traversing the first path, that is the samsara chakra kadana, changing body one after another. But when they become enlightened by association with genuine devotees, you change your path and you go to the path of apavarga saranam, taking complete shelter of Krishna. So, first of all, we have to understand who we are, what is our position. And Prabhupada does this in the Srimad Bhagavatam 7, 9, 12, in a little class that he gave in, I'm not sure what the date is right now, but I can find out. So he says that our position is that we want to continue our sinful activities. What a horrible thing. And in order to do that, you have to convince yourself that God doesn't exist. And that's exactly what they do in schools today. They help you to convince yourself that God doesn't exist. If you don't believe me, then you're living under some rock. This is what they do. Now, there are religious schools that try and teach kids about God. There's one down the street. It's a Catholic school. and they say prayers and things like that. I've been to that school, and I have. They invited me to speak once at that school, but the kids in that school, although the principal of the school is a Catholic priest, and it was started by Catholic men and women who wanted their children to have not be subjected to public school education, have a religious school education, and God-centered and so forth. And the priest is there, and part of their classes are spiritual classes, also Bible classes, but I've gone to the two normal high schools, and in Sammamish, and then I went to this Catholic high school. I did not see a big difference between the kids. The way they dressed, the way they talked, the way they were, their body language, I didn't see much of a difference. Right? However, the kids in the Catholic school were exposed to Bible classes. The principal is a ordained priest in the Catholic Church, and not all the teachers, well, most of the teachers are all Catholics. In fact, there was a controversy there because one teacher came in who was a lesbian. It became a big controversy, and they tried to throw her out, and even the students were protesting. So anyway, I'm not sure exactly how that ended up, and I'm pretty sure the teacher was kicked out. So you see, there's all these issues that happen all the time. And that's why I said I did not see a big difference between the kids in the public school in Redmond and the kids in the Catholic school. And one indication of it, if I'm not mistaken, I mean, you can look this up on the internet. If I'm mistaken, you can correct me. Some of the kids in the Catholic school objected that they were going to throw out the lesbian teacher. And it got into the newspapers and things like that. Why don't you see if you can find that, Prabhu? I don't want to say something that's wrong. Okay, so first thing is we have to understand what our position is. So most people want to be convinced that God doesn't exist. And why is that? Because they don't want to be held responsible to anyone. So that in order to sin, you have to forget Krishna. Even devotees, if they want to sin, while they're committing the sin, they have to forget about Krishna consciousness. They have to forget about Krishna. And so that they are not accountable for sinful activities. So this is, Prabhupada said, this is called Maya. What is Maya? Nobody wants to be controlled, but everyone wants to be the controller. Just like one time in our My Sweet Lord restaurant, which was a free restaurant for 13 years in the U District, one time, this one man started coming, but he was not very well, he didn't have good self-control, and he would sometimes mumble and then scream out some profanity, and we'd try and calm him down, but we didn't ask him not to come. But one day he came in, he was really agitated, and he started screaming and profanities and acting in a malicious, threatening way. So, I told him, I said, look, you can't come in here and talk like that, so I'm going to ask you to leave. And he said, well, who are you? Who do you think you are to ask me to leave? I said, well, I'm the person that's in charge of this place, and I'm asking you very politely, I want you to leave. He said, I don't follow anybody's rules. I said, oh, yeah? I said, you don't follow anybody's rules? No, I don't follow anybody's rules. I said, where do you live? He said, why do you want to know where I live? I said, look, you know where I live, so I should know where you live. Where do you live? Well, I live in a van. I said, where's the van parked? Why do you want to know where it's parked? I said, you know where I am, so I should know where you are. Where is it parked? So I park it in Ravenna. I said, what street? So he finally told me. I said, I'm going to come to your van. I said, what are you going to do? What do you mean you're coming to my van? I said, I'm going to come to your van. I'm going to pee in your van. He said, you're not allowed to do that. No one's allowed to pee in my van. I said, see, you got rules. I said, you're a hypocrite. You say you don't follow any rules, but you make rules. I said, so you're no different than the government or anybody else that makes rules. So you see how crazy people are, right? In his little universe, his VW rainbow-colored van, he has rules. So you see, everybody wants to be a controller in the material world. It's the ego, the false ego of people, of all of us. That's why we came to this world. We revolted against the authority of God. That's why we're here. Every one of us is a criminal, right? And we're in a minority because 3/4 of the creation and 3/4 of the infinite number of living entities are in the spiritual world. They were not, as rebellious as we are. Every one of us revolted against God, and therefore it's just like the British used to send all the criminals in London and England to Australia. So Australia was started by criminals of the British Empire. and that's why it's the land, the ultimate land for sense gratification today. But anyway, Prabhupada says, but our position is that we want to continue our sinful activities. As such, it is very good to deny any controller. That is the basic principle of godlessness. Why these rascals? They deny there is God. God is dead. Because they want to continue their rascaldom without any restriction. That is the basic principle why they deny. But do you mean to say that denying God, God will die or God will cease to exist? There will be no God? No. There is a nice Bengali proverb, Sakuni swape garu more na. Sakuni means the vulture. The vulture wants some dead carcass of an animal, especially a cow. So for days together, the vultures do not get it. So the vulture is cursing some cow, you die, you die, you die. So does it mean that by his cursing the cow will die? Similarly, these vultures, these sakunis, they want to see God as dead. At least they take pleasure. Oh, now God is dead. I can do anything nonsense I like. This is going on. Sakuni is cursing. The vulture is cursing the cow. Well, the so-called famous philosopher Nietzsche, I think his name is Frederick Nietzsche, he's a German philosopher. He wrote a book, God is Dead. A very, very popular book. It's sold like, hotcakes. And he's claiming that God is dead. And this is what all the existentialist philosophers say. This is what all the atheists say. This is what all the demons say. God is dead. The communists were trying to convince everyone religion is the opiate of the people. And in every way they tried to eliminate religion in the Soviet Union. It didn't work. Okay, so Prabhupada says that this is nonsense. So this sort of knowledge is useless. This sort of knowledge that God is dead is useless. One must know that there is a controller. That is the beginning of knowledge. Why should you deny it? In every field of activity, we find some controller. How can I deny that there is no controller of this creation? There is. Therefore, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu particularly uses this word. He's not manufacturing the word. This Jagadisha, this word, is there in the Vedic language in many verses. Jaya Jagadisha Hare, Keshavadrita Buddha Sarita, Jaya Jagadisha Hare. So the Jagannatha is Jagadisha, the same word. Jagatnatha, Jagatnatha, Jagat-isha, Jagadisha. So who is that Jagadisha? That is being defined by Brahma, the first living creature of this universe. In the Brahma Samhita, Ishvara Paramakrishna, Brahma Samhita 5.1. The parama means supreme. Parama means the best, the supreme, the superior. Just like we manufacture, we prepare some nice food stuff. It's called paramana. Ana means foodstuff, and paramana means the greatest foodstuff, and that is sweet rice. Amongst all sorts of rice preparation, that sweet rice is considered to be the best, especially our sweet rice. It's my recipe, and the devotees are making it every day. How many of you taste the sweet rice in the morning? Whoa, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. You, Prabhu, you, no, you don't. Okay. 5. Yeah. You take it also, Prabhu? Yeah. How is it? Yeah, it tastes really good. So it's normal because it's paramana. By the way, they have this word in the Bible also, mana. It means nectar that comes from heaven. When the Jews left Egypt and walked around in the Sinai Peninsula for about 40 years, and it's a desert, so how did they live? Well, God sent them manna from heaven. Did you know that? It's very interesting. That's exactly the same word. Anyway, this parama, or the best, the supreme, the superior. Just like we prepare sometimes paramana, or ana means foodstuff. So you see, today we read the definition, or the what is understood by Mayavadis of the Guru Gita from the Skanda Purana. At the end, Miss Aurora says, Guru is the embodiment of Para Brahman. See, Para means the best, the greatest, the unequaled, right? So they call it Paramana and Para Brahman. That means the ultimate Godhead. Or Paramana, the best food. Okay, so Prabhupada says then, so Param is used when it is the best or the supremmost. So Ishvara means controller. There are many controllers, because might is right. But nobody is supreme controller. That is not possible. Nobody. Everyone is trying to become the supreme controller, but that is not being possible. By individual effort, by national effort, by communal effort, anyway, every community, every nation, every individual is trying to be the supreme. Therefore, there is competition. Everyone is trying to be the supreme, but that is not possible. This world, this creation is so made that nobody is supreme, and any position you place yourself in, you'll find somebody inferior to you and somebody superior to you. No one can say that I am superior or I am inferior. If you think you are inferior, you'll find somebody immediately less inferior than you, and if you think you are superior, you'll find immediately someone is more superior than you. Prabhupada says, so this is our position. So this is the position of all of us. Right? So first he explains what is our real position in this world. Then next, he says, and what is God's position? So this is real education, right? The kids should learn. What is our position? Now what is God's position? That is described in the Vedic literature, in Bhagavad Gita. Asamurdva. Asamurdva means nobody is superior and nobody is equal to God. No one is equal to him, no one is superior to him. Two things. If you find somebody who has no competitor, no equal, and who has no superior, then he is God. The definition of God can be given in 2 words. One who has no superior and has no equal. Asamurdva. That's the Sanskrit word. This is the Vedic version. In the Upanishads, it is said, Natasya sama adikasya drishyate. Nobody is found equal to God or greater than God. Natasya sama adikshaya drishyate. And then Parasya Shakti Vividaya Shriyate. In Srimad Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya 1365, Krishna's energies are manifested in infinite ways, or in many, many ways. Natasya karyam karanam cha vidyate natat samascha vyadikascha drishyate parasya sarva parasya parasya shakti vividaiva shriyate. And then it says anyway, it says jana karma vidyate, jana karma. Anyway, it says that no one natasya karyam karanam cha vidyate. No one is equal to Krishna, and no one is superior to Krishna. And Krishna has infinite energies that he expands, and therefore no one can be compared to him in any way. So this is the purport. And when it says natasya karyam karanam cha vidyate, he's not obliged to do anything because he's perfect in every way. So he has nothing that's obligated for him to do. This is explained also in the Bhagavad Gita, in the 3rd chapter, where it says, these verses are quoted there also. 3rd chapter.
I just found the verse, Maharaj. Natasya karya.
Yeah.
Karanam chavidyate.
Right.
Natata smat radhatikas.
No, it's 3rd chapter, verse number 22 and 23, where it says, O son of Pritha, there is no work prescribed for me within all 3 planetary systems, nor am I in want of anything, nor have I a need to obtain anything, and yet I am engaged in prescribed duties. For if I ever failed to engage in carefully performing prescribed duties, O Partha, certainly all men would follow my path. So, this verse, natasya karyam karanam cha vidyate, natat samascha vyadikascha drishyate, parasya shakti vividaiva shriyate, swabhaviki jnanabala kriyacha. He does not, or God does not possess bodily form like that of an ordinary living entity. There's no difference between his body and his soul. He is absolute. All his senses are transcendental. Any one of his senses can perform the action of any other sense. Therefore, no one is greater than him or equal to him. His potencies are multifarious, and thus his deeds are automatically performed as a natural sequence. In other words, everything looks like it's happening automatically in nature. The sun is rising every day at a specific time. The sun is setting every day at a specific time. The moon is rising at a specific time. The moon is setting at a specific time. The seasons are changing at a specific time. There are currents in the ocean. There are winds. The weather can be predicted by the weather meteorologist because everything is functioning automatically in a systematic way. The planets are in their specific orbits. Time is calculated by the movement of the planets. So we see that the whole universe is ordered from the top to the bottom. And therefore, to claim that there is no controller is absolute insanity. So therefore, Prabhupada says, take any man, any important man, take your president, just like the President of the United States of America. He is considered to be the supreme man in the States. But as soon as there is some disturbance in Central Europe, immediately he has to call the meetings of his cabinet and to consider how to deal with the situation. So he has to do something always. If he does not do anything, then he's no more the supreme man. But in the Vedic literature we find, natasya karyam karanam cha vidyate, God or Krishna has nothing to do. That is superiority. If he has to do something, then he's not supreme. He cannot be. He's acting. So, when Krishna says, for if I ever failed to engage in carefully performing prescribed duties, O Partha, certainly all men would follow my path. So, he's not obliged to do anything, but yet, out of love for his devotee, he'll come and he'll appear and he'll destroy the demons, reestablish the principles of religion, and deliver his devotees from all calamity. That's out of love. And also, when he comes, he adjusts things so that, because dharmam to shakshat bhagavat pranitam, the religious or spirituality can only be established by the Lord. No one else can manufacture some spirituality. If they do, it's a waste of time. Okay, so, and Prabhupada tells a story of this one person, a German, who came to India and eventually joined the Gaudiya Math, became a devotee. And they asked him, why did you come to India? He said, well, in my country, Europe, and in America, we've perfected many of the yoga siddhis of your yogis, but we've done it mechanically. And your yogis do it in a different way, through mantra, through meditation, and through renunciation, and so forth. He said, so we can fly through the air, we can go under the water in submarines, and we can walk on the water in boats, and we can do this and that. And basically, all the yoga siddhis, or most of them, we have imitated mechanically. So, therefore, I came to India to find something different. And basically, I'm looking for God. And I've gone to different temples in Calcutta. I went to the Kali temple, and I went to this temple and that temple. But in every temple I went to, God was doing something. Kali has all these weapons in her 10 arms, and she's using them to kill demons, and Shiva is meditating, and the other one is doing this. He said, but when I came to your temple, meaning the Gaudiya Math temple, he said, I saw the real God, because he doesn't have anything to do. He's playing on his flute, he's dancing, he's having a good time. So I realized he must be God, because he's free of all material obligations. He's completely enjoying. So Prabhupada said, he was a very intelligent man, right? He figured things out. So he said, the man said, I find in this temple there is God. Why? Why you conclude like that? That in every temple I saw that the God, deity, is doing something. But here I see the God is enjoying. He has nothing to do. Very nice conclusion. This is Vedic conclusion. Why? If he's God, nowadays the nonsense are becoming God by meditation. But does it mean by meditation one can become God? Do you think a dog meditates and becomes God? This is all nonsense. And then Prabhupada starts shouting, God is God, always God. Just like Krishna, he is God in the lap of his mother. The Putana, the demonic woman, came to poison the child. She came in a very beautiful girl's dress and asked Yasoda, oh, Yasoda Mai, you have got such very nice baby. Will you kindly give me? I can offer my breast. Yasoda Mai was a very simple village woman. Oh, yes, you can take my child. But the intention of Putana was she smeared poison on her breast. As soon as Krishna will suck, the child will die. So this is the demonic spirit. They want to kill Krishna always. That's all. God is dead. They want to see how Krishna can be killed, how Krishna is dead. That is their business. There is no God. God is impersonal, or God is dead. So many things they say. That means they want to see there is no God, or to kill God. Kamsa is always thinking, as soon as Krishna will take birth, I'll take the baby and kill it. But God is always God. The Putana Rakshasi took the child and allowed to suck her breast, and she was allowed to give her breast, and God is so kind, he sucked the breast and sucked her life. Everything finished, and she appeared, a great giant-like demon. You know the story. Putana. So this God, this child God in the lap of his mother, he's God. He did not become God by meditation, by penance, or by austerity, or by following the rules and regulations. Why? He is substantially God. The God's manifestation is always there. That is God. Natasya karyam karanam cha vidyate. He has nothing to do. If anyone has to do something to become God, he's a dog. He's not God. Immediately understand. If somebody advertises that by meditation he has become God, by worshipping such and such deity, he has become God, immediately take that he is dog, because the Vedic definition says, Natasya karyam karanam cha vidyate. Why God has to do something to become God? If you manufacture something gold, that is chemical gold, that is not gold. Gold is natural. Similarly, God is natural. In the womb of his mother, he is God. In the lap of his mother, he is God. While he's playing with his boyfriends as cowherd boys, he's God. While he's dancing with his girlfriends, he's God. While he's fighting in Kurukshetra, he's God. While he's marrying in Dwarka, he's God. While he's speaking, he's God. That is God. To understand God, there's no difficulty. If you try to understand Krishna, then God is there. Therefore, Brahma recommends Iswara Parama Krishna, Brahma Samhita 5.1. The Supreme Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is Krishna. And Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita himself that Matak Parataram Nanya Kinchid Asti Dhananjaya. Bhagavad Gita 7.7. My dear Arjuna, Dhananjaya, oh, there is no greater object than me. Kinchit Asti. Nothing. Many places he says, Aham Sarvasya Prabhava, Bhagavad Gita 10.8. I am the origin. I am the fountainhead of everything. Everything means he is the fountainhead of Lord Shiva. He's the fountainhead, the origin of Vishnu. He's the origin of Brahma, and he's the origin of Lord Shiva. And what to speak of other demigods, and what to speak of other living creatures. Mamayavamso Jiva Bhuta, Bhagavad Gita 15.7. All these living creatures, they are all my parts and parcels. Therefore, he's the origin. And in the Brahma Samhita, the Brahma in the Samhita, Samhita means Vedic literature, so he explains that you are finding out cause. Here is cause. Everywhere you'll find, but the rascal demons, so when it says, Sarvakarana Karanam, that Krishna is the cause of everything. But the rascal demons are so obstinate that although Krishna has confirmed the supreme God by Brahma, by Shiva, by Vyasa, by Narada, by Devala, and many, many devotees, Bhisma, there are 12 standard acharyas. There are Swayambur, Narada, Sambhu. Swayambur means Brahma, Narada Muni, and Sambhu means Lord Shiva, Kapila, Vyasa, Kumara. Everyone has accepted that Krishna is the supreme God. And in the recent years, Lord Chaitanya, he has said, Bhagavata says, Krishna stu Bhagavan Swayam, Srimad Bhagvatam 1.3.28. Bhagavata gives list of all incarnations of God, and at the last he concludes that in this list, the name Krishna, he is the supreme personality. Krishna stu Bhagavan Swayam. And all other manifestations, they are incarnations. Ete chamsa kalak mumsa Krishna stu Bhagavan Swayam. All these different names of gods, they are either parts or part of the parts. A part of parts is called kala, and a part is called amsa. We are also amsa, but we are very fragmental amsa. We are not as big as Vishnu. We are very fragmental. We are also amsa. So amsa, kala. So all others, they are either amsa or kala, but Krishna stu Bhagavan Swayam, tu means but. Krishna stu Bhagavan Swayam, he is the supreme personality of Godhead. So what did Prabhupada do here? He explains first the position of the living entity, us. And now, he just went through a very detailed explanation of what's the difference between us and God, and how we can never be equal to or greater than God. And anyone who claims to be is a nonsense. And even Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma, they're coming from Krishna. And even Lord Vishnu is coming from Krishna. So, what did Prabhupada do here? He puts everyone in their place. He puts the Sri Vaishnavas in their place. They claim that that Vishnu is the origin, or Narayan is the origin of Krishna. That's not true. He puts all the demigod worshippers in their place. That all the demigods, they're all the expansions coming from Krishna. And they're all, in one degree or other, influenced by the modes of goodness, passion, and ignorance. And he makes it very clear that he's the origin of Narayana and Vishnu. So this is who Krishna is. But when he appears in this world, he appears like an ordinary child in the lap of his mother. But is he ordinary? No. He is Eka Chakra. Eka. He is always God, whether he's in the body of little baby Krishna, or the boy Krishna, or the adolescent Krishna, or the mature Krishna, who never gets older than 16 years old in appearance. He's always a fresh youth, a pristine youth. That is the God. See? So therefore he puts the Catholics in their position also. They don't know who God is. If you go to the Sistine Chapel in Rome and you see the depiction of who God is made by Michelangelo with the teachings of the Catholic Church, he's an old man with gray hair. That means they don't know who God is. They don't have any clear understanding who God is. Okay, and they claim that Jesus is God, but Jesus is the Son of God. But they make this, they make some kind of a theory that there's this Trinity, and there's God the Father, God the Son, God the Holy Spirit, but that Jesus is all three of them. And this is why there's so many Christian denominations, the Catholics, the Protestants, and the Protestants broke up into hundreds and thousands of different sects. Why? Because they're all trying to figure out who Jesus is. Is he God who became man? Is he man who became God? Is he God and man? Is he this? Is he that? It's all confused. But here, Prabhupada, in a few paragraphs, he summarizes exactly who is Krishna, who is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. No one can be equal to him or greater than him. So our prayer should be to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami. We worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the original person. We are all persons, just like your father is person, therefore you are person. Your son is person, similarly your father's father is person, his father person, his father person. So all the way back to Brahma, and he's also a person, and his father, Vishnu, is person, and his father, everywhere, Krishna, the Supreme Person. There's no monkey, there's no it, there's no single-celled amoeba. They're all persons, right? God cannot be without being person. He must be person. This impersonal understanding of God, Nirakaravadi, that Nirakar, of course in the Vedic language when we speak Nirakar, Ni means negative, and Akara means form. So negative form. Negative form means not that he has no form, but he has no form like you and me. That is negative. Form means just like we have got form. So what is the value of this form? This form will be changed after a few years. As soon as I give up this body, this form is changed, just like we change our dress. Therefore, he hasn't got a form like this to be changed. Therefore, he's sometimes called Nirakara. Akara is there, and that is also explained in the Brahma Samhita, that Ishvara Parama Krishna, Brahma Samhita 5.1, oh, Krishna has got a form, sir. How can you say that he is, the Supreme? Brahman is the Supreme. So he's giving the argument of the Mayavadis here. No, he has form certainly. Satchitananda Vigraha. So when the Mayavadis talk about Satchitananda, they only say Satchitananda. They never say Vigraha. They say God is Satchitananda. He has no form. But it's Satchitananda Vigraha, the form of eternity, bliss, and knowledge. So Brahma Samhita says, Ishvara Parama Krishna. Krishna has got a form. Sir, oh, how can you say that he is supreme? Brahman is the supreme. No. God or Krishna has form, certainly, Satchitananda Vigraha. His form is not like you and me, Satchitananda. His form is eternal, full of bliss, and full of knowledge. Satchitananda Vigraha. Ishvara Parama Krishna, Satchitananda Vigraha. Anadir. He has no source. He has no source. He is original. He is the source of everything. Anadir Adir. And he's the original Govindam. Govinda means source. Govinda means he gives pleasure. How do you perceive pleasure? Through your senses. So therefore, go means senses, and vinda means pleasure. You see there? Now, Prabhupada is defining everything about who Krishna is. If you want to know who Krishna is, you just read this lecture that he gave, and I'll tell you what the date is in a minute. What? You're right. August 18, 1968. And he gave it where? In Montreal. So, how do you perceive pleasure through your senses? So therefore, go means senses and vinda means pleasure. So if you serve Krishna in your purified senses, then you really become happy. Therefore, his name is Govinda. Ishwara Parama Krishna Satchitananda Vigraha Anadir Adir Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam, the cause of all causes. So he is therefore Jagadisha. Jagadisha. Okay, so this is a fantastic lecture by Prabhupada, and in the next lecture, we'll go over that more carefully tomorrow. But the main point here is, first you have to understand who we are and what is our position, including Brahma and Shiva and Indra and all the demigods, including Narayana and Vishnu. Then we can understand who Krishna is, the Supreme Personality of God. And this is secret knowledge. It's confidential knowledge. Why? Because anyone who has a material desire can never understand this. Therefore, the Pope did not understand who is God. He said he's an old man with wrinkles and gray hair. He didn't understand anything when he instructed Michelangelo how to represent God. At least the Muslims, they say you can't represent God. They don't want to make a mistake. But because of Muslim philosophers like Ibn Ghazali, he was a famous 10th century philosopher of Islam, one of their top philosophers. He was a Mayavadi. So he thought that God does not have a specific form. So we see that basically there's a lot of speculation, but they all learned this from the Mayavadis coming from India. The Mayavadis coming from India influenced the Greeks, and then later on in the Jews, and then the Christians, and then the Muslims got influenced by the Greek philosophy, which was most of it was Mayavad philosophy that they got from India. Okay, so, but one other point I just want to make today, and then we'll stop. That is, Prabhupada says something very interesting. He says that the Shastras or scriptures, they say, don't drink, don't steal, don't do this, don't do that. All forbidden. But I steal, so that is swakarma be. I'm creating karma by not following what the Shastra says, what Krishna says. There is forbidding everywhere, but still I steal. Then whose fault is it? It is the government's fault or my fault? The government says don't steal, but I steal. If I kill, I'll be hanged. Thou shalt not kill. Lord Christ said, thou shalt not kill. But if I kill, then I must suffer. But they say, give some false argument. Lord Christ says, thou shalt not kill. And if I kill, Christ has taken the contract that whatever sinful activities we do, he will excuse. This is Christian document. They say that our Christ is so kind that whatever sinful activities we do, he will suffer for us. Is it not like this? This is Christian theory. Just see the foolishness. You do something and I suffer for that. No, you have to suffer. You have done something wrong. You must suffer. This is the real philosophy. Swakarma bhi usattama te angri mulam prita apavarga saranam. So we are very much entangled in this material world. One should be very much afraid of it. Prahlad Maharaj says Prahlad Maharaj was not afraid of Nishingamurti, but he was very much afraid of this material existence. It is really very, very fearful. People do not know the seriousness of material existence, and they continue and waste their chance of human being. Human form of life is a chance to rectify, but they do not care. Therefore, the Krishna consciousness movement is so important. Everyone, door to door, a devotee has to go and teach them. You are leading a very, very irresponsible life. Be responsible to your consciousness and be a devotee of Krishna. That will save you. Amazing words by Srila Prabhupada. And look what he's doing. He's saying that the Christians have got it wrong. And that is exactly what the Ritviks do also. They say only Prabhupada is the guru. Nobody else is guru. Okay, that means, number one, they don't give Prabhupada a chance to observe the disciple. Number two, the guru is responsible for the sins of the disciple. So they're dumping all the sins of disciples in the future who take Ritvik, so-called initiation, on Srila Prabhupada. That is a sacrilege. That is Guru Hana, trying to kill the guru. And it's nonsense. And that's exactly what the Christians have done. Jesus takes all the sins. You can, as long as you say, I believe in Jesus, you're saved, I am saved, and now I continue sinning, and Jesus gets all the sin. This nonsense philosophy. Prabhupada says, this is Christian theory. Just see the foolishness. You do something, and Jesus suffers for that. No. You must suffer. And that's exactly what's happening. The people are suffering because they've become duped by false philosophers and false spiritualists and false information. And therefore, Prabhupada has come, he's explaining all these things in clear language, and it's up to us to spread this message. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Are there any questions?